Welcome to this lazy video where you can see me here in the box. I will probably not be here for long. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit because of the baby. I don't really have time to edit, so we're gonna do a couple of these very rough videos if you want to have videos at all, because as you could see, it didn't have videos for a couple of weeks. So let's jump straight into the laziness. So the idea is to draw spaceships as lazily as possible. And maybe some of you guys saw this some sort of indie spaceship movie. I don't quite remember the name, but maybe some of you seen it. If you've seen it, please put it in the chat. It's something with moon folks. I'm not sure about the name. Anyways, they had this ball-shaped spaceship in there. With these wings. I don't know if it's a good design. It's not iconic at all. I'm not sure it's rememberable. But the idea is that you go to a movie that you like and you take a design that you like, something like this in this case, and you're going to start iterating on it. So what does that mean? It means that we sort of copy what we see here, but we start changing things. So I'm just gonna draw this ball. And this ball had this little cockpit area somewhere there, all right. And then it had these things reaching out that sort of hold the wings. Now, I'm just going to do a little copy of this. So lasso, copy and paste. And just to have it for later, you know. What we're going to do now is just, what if we change the wings? What if we do sort of, I don't know, triangles, something like this. Just make sure that your lines are also parallel. I was a bit too in there with my nose. And then you would have something like this. And if you say, hey Robert, that's not really original or different enough, okay, no problem. Let's try something else. How about these rounded long things? And you probably still don't like this, so no problem. Let us just draw something more. And what if we, let's say this is where our wings will be, but then we break it up into a sort of a wedge situation, something like that. And here as well. Yeah, this might be slightly more original, but I'm not really convinced. No problem. We are gonna move on to a different part of this drawing, namely the cockpit now. And you can do many iterations on these wings. That's not a problem. So for the cockpit, what you can do. Just go with simple changes. Let's just take, we're sticking with be as lazy as possible, so why not just take geometric shapes? So you can take a cube, and of course you don't want a flying cube, but you can cut off a couple of the edges here and there, make it just a little bit more space worthy, and you can almost turn this into a cockpit. Alright, so here we already start seeing some differences. Still very much the same DNA, but differences becoming visible. What we can do, just iterate a bit more on the cockpit. Still just lazy, don't go further than basic shapes. Let's try something like a prism or a triangle in 3D, whatever you would like to call it. And now we can start also playing a little bit with the wings, since we had those rectangles, but now we have a prism. What if we sort of cut off parts of the rectangular wing and turn it more towards the prism as well? So from here to there we cut it off. From there to there we cut it off. Okay, so this is already a little bit, this I like. It is going into the right direction. What we can do now is play with our basic shapes. So when we have this prism here, what if we elongate it a little bit? So we can add a little bit of space behind it, make it longer, and then we can also push our wings a little bit to the back. So if I draw through this, the wing would come out there and there. So if I draw just these back and these, and then I cut these off, like that, and like that. And let's just make our lines a little bit stronger. So all of a sudden, we have something that looks quite different from what we drew in the beginning. It still has maybe some of that DNA, but we did move past from it. And of course, you can move further along. You can even combine some of these elements. Let's do that as well. So let's take the prism and combine it with that cube from the beginning. And I like that cube. I also adjusted it a little bit and enlarge it towards the back as well. And of course, because, as I said, this is lazy spaceship design, what we are not doing here, I'm not thinking much about, well, I am because I can't help it, but world building. What does this spaceship do? Where will it fly? Is it a fighter, a non-fighter? These are all things that help a lot. But if we want just some quick shapes, this sort of approach should do the job as well. And as you can see, I slightly moved the wing again from the back towards the center. Yeah, in this case, you can either just randomly move around, see what works. As I said, I can't really help myself. I was thinking, okay, this looks more like a cargo sort of ship, and maybe these are some sort of stabilizer wings that might or might not work. I don't know yet, but I moved them here to the center. I want to see how that would look. Okay, and I think this sort of works. Well, works. I like as a basis, of course, depending how lazy you want to go. Personally, I would want to throw in some slightly more organic, well, not organic, but just rounded shapes. We have a lot of sharp edges, which can work for some things, but I feel just like I'm missing. If we would add some rounded shapes to this one, it would work better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple of cylinders somewhere here, and maybe I'm going to try and do a couple of roundings down there. So let us make a copy of this, like that, and just move it to the side. And I'm just gonna lower the opacity because I want to see what happens if I draw here. So I think it's nice that we have that square area there, but I want to complement it with like some rounded shapes there as well, something like this. I think this will already benefit us tremendously. And then here I want to round this off a little bit as well. This is very industrial designery around this, so not super organic. As I said, it's not necessarily what we're going for, but that will give us at least a little more room to play with these shapes. And then here we can go back into that area again, and then we can add even like a contra sort of angle there. And I think this is gonna work better. I just want to, if we raise this rounding a little bit, just to explain that, and then here we're back to something like this. Now what we can do is, because this is quite a harsh, we can do a connection beam here, something like that. And that is mostly to have the whole construction, but also it keeps just our little geometric shapes more in line. There we go, and then we have another rounded shape there. And this will just give a bit of diversity to our spaceship. And then we just erase the layers below. Make sure that what we did with the roundings sort of comes through. Merge everything together in the end. As I said, lazy, so we're not going for perfect. As you guys know, I like quick, sketchy stuff. So this is as far as probably I'm going to go with this one. But as you can see, we ended, or we started, let me bring this over here. We started with this sort of indie movie spaceship, and we ended up with our own little design, which of course is not a fighter, but the idea was not to make a fighter, but a spaceship. And then you can, of course, play around even more if you want to. If you want, you can add extra sort of wings here, just to make it even more differentiated. Actually, it works. I did not expect this to work. But we can do sort of, take the wedge from the beginning. Laziness is okay, but try to have some sort of idea what you're doing in there. In this case, it is very nice to repeat shapes that you already showcased in the beginning. So we have the wedginess here, the wedginess in the beginning, and if you bring some of that wedginess there in the back as well, it just is pleasant for the eye because you have sort of that repetition. So feel free to repeat some of the shapes. Sometimes threes are good, sometimes whatever you want is good. It's all about experimentation, seeing what works, what doesn't. Actually, I'm gonna merge that down as final decision. And yeah, I'm gonna add some detail here and there, but with that, this is how lazy you can be. Alright folks, I know the whole video production is a little bit lazy, but that's also the title. With the baby, I don't really have the time or resources or energy to do proper edits, so I hope you will like these because this is the only type of video I can do in the future. If you really dislike it, just keep on hitting that dislike button and tell me to not make these anymore, and I might still make them. Anyways, I do hope you did get something out of it. You learned something new, maybe a couple of tricks, maybe just to take it easy and enjoy the actual spaceship drawing process. Anyways, if you did, hit that like, dislike. You guys know the shebang. As always, the most important thing is that you folks have a great time and keep on sketching. Bye-bye.